Hello, viewers. Today, you'll see me brew some delicious Korean rice wine. This is not an experiment. This is scrappy makgeolli. This is mulberry brown sweet rice, two-stage makgeolli with both homemade and supermarket Nuruk. Brewing with what you have. If you clicked on this video, that means that you are already interested in rice wine. So please click that like button, subscribe to this channel. There's hundreds of videos about rice wine on this channel. Thank you for spreading the word about rustic Asian rice wine. I appreciate it. So the theme today is that sometimes you have to brew with what you have. So I'm just going to use up some of my ingredients that I have and just make sort of a random recipe makgeolli. This is not an experiment because I'm changing too many things. I'm never going to have exactly this combination of ingredients again. That's okay. We're going to brew with scraps. That's what's happening today. So this brew is going to trick me in some ways, but it's worth it in the end. Watch and see what happens. So to start off with, I have this kind of sweet rice flour. I don't usually use sweet rice flour. Usually I just use normal rice flour, not the sweet rice flour. And I don't normally use this brand, but I have it, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to make bambak. That's undercooked rice porridge, just made by pouring boiling water into the rice flour. And because it's the sweet rice, it's extra sticky. I'm going to set that aside to cool. And here's some of my homemade Nuruk. This is 10 grams. And it's pretty old by now, but it's still effective. I'm going to crush that up. I'm also going to use some supermarket Nuruk, 80 grams altogether, so 90 grams in total. And I'm going to use the rest of this packet of wine yeast, add a little bit more there, and of a different kind, 200 milliliters of water. That's my Nuruk mixture. I'm just waiting for the bambak to cool down. And now it's cooled down. I'm going to pour the Nuruk mixture into the bambak and really stir that. So stir that for 5 or 10 minutes. Get it nice and liquid. Now the bambak is started off a little lumpy. That's happened sometimes, especially with wheat rice flour. But it's liquid enough. It's uniform now. It's liquid enough just to pour into my fermentation jar, which I have previously sanitized. And you can watch some of my earlier videos for what I use to sanitize my jars. So just clean that up a bit, leave the lid a bit loose, and put it someplace dark to ferment, cool around 20 degrees Celsius. So that's the first stage. What's the second stage going to be? Well, I have this bag of brown sweet rice. Let's do some of that. Just to be different, I'm going to use 400 grams of this brown sweet rice. Brown sweet rice is difficult to ferment. I rarely brew with it, but it's going to be half and half. It's going to be half Thai sweet rice as well. And this is long grain rice. It's not what I usually use, but it's easy to brew with. And those are mixed together, both kinds of rice, and I'll wash and rinse that repeatedly. And then I'm going to soak that. And because of the brown sweet rice, I'm going to soak that extra long. I'm going to soak this for 24 hours. And the next day, let's take a look at the first stage. It's separated out and is bubbling, producing a lot of bubbles, and it's very liquid, easy to stir. I'm going to stir it twice today. And then back to the rice that we were soaking. Now it's soaked for 24 hours. I'm going to rinse that off and drain it for 30 minutes. And, oh, here's the mulberry. I'm going to use 10 grams of the dried mulberry. It's quite darkly colored. It's going to color the brew. I'm only using 10 grams, just to be subtle. I'm going to remove the stems Okay, so let's steam this rice for the second stage. Spread it out. I'm going to put that mulberry in the middle, covered up with some more rice, and so we'll see if this is enough mulberry to taste or to color the brew. So just a small amount of mulberry in there. So I'm going to steam this. And if you want information about my steamer, please see my earlier videos. I'm going to steam this for 80 minutes. I want to steam this for 80 minutes, twice as long as normal, again, because of the brown rice. So the Thai sweet rice is going to be overcooked, but the brown rice really needs the extra time. So after 80 minutes, push it aside, be careful of the hot steam, and remove the rice. Spread this out to cool to less than 30 degrees Celsius. And after it's cool, stir up this jar and add the second stage to the first stage. And mix it by hand. And that's good. Close the lid and back in the cabinet. Take a look on day 2. You can see some evidence of the colors spreading. I should tell you, this brew tricked me, but we'll see that as time progresses. So on the bottom, it is quite liquid and loose at the bottom here, but otherwise pretty even texture. You can see bubbles in the top layer where it's more solid and more liquid on the bottom. And rice grains are falling to the bottom. That's what I expect. So it's producing bubbles. I listen every day. I'm sure that fermentation is continuing, and that the loose liquid layer on the bottom is getting larger. And I'm still seeing bubbles. I'm going to let this ferment maybe a bit longer than normal. Two-stage brew might only need 10 days or 2 weeks at a minimum. I'm going to let this go for longer, again, because of the brown rice. And it's that brown rice that's going to trick me here. Things are continuing to ferment, and that more liquid layer, the loose layer, is expanding and more rice is falling to the bottom. So that's indicating that this brew is almost done to me. That's what I get from this. The liquid layer is mostly in the middle. So 19 days, I'm going to filter. So boil my filter bag. Stir this. And one thing I noticed, this is a little more solid than I would like. It's not as liquid. Pour it out into the filter bag. So I got most of it out there. That's good. And it's dripping out. Let's see how this is going to be to squeeze. I can tell right away this is more difficult to squeeze. There's a lot of solids still in there. I'm able to get the liquid out, but there's a lot of solids. This is the Jjigae, the lees is 677 grams. So what I can see here is that the Thai sweet rice broke down, but not the brown sweet rice. Brown sweet rice grains are still whole here. That's what tricked me. It looked like it was fermenting really normally, but I still have these whole grains in here. I was just watching the Thai sweet rice break down and fall to the bottom. I think I needed to wait longer for this brew to finish. So the amount of liquid I get is less than normal. I'm still going to try to get my bonus bowl and add water to the Jjigae and see what more I can filter out. Can I squeeze this more? Because there's a lot of solids left here. There's a lot of flavor left. I want to extract everything possible out of this. And this is my bonus bowl. I do get a bonus bowl by adding more water and filtering again. So the Jjigae went down from 677 grams to 600 grams. So that's good. I extracted a bit more out of this, but that's still too much jjigae mi. It's that brown rice that tricked me. So this is the result of this recipe. Just a bit more than 1 liter and the bonus bowl there, and lots of jjigae mi, lots of brown rice there. So that's what tricked me. I needed to let this ferment longer, give that brown rice more time to break down and ferment. But there's always next time. I was brewing with scraps here anyhow, just trying to use up random materials in my cupboard, trying to use up scraps here. It still worked and it tastes good. This is a nice tasting brew, and I'm going to give my judgment in 3 days. So it's been 3 days and the brew has settled quite nicely. The color is quite dark red. That surprised me because I added such a small quantity of the mulberry, but that's enough to really give it this dark red color, at least in the Chongju layer. And the sediment, you can see if I tilt it, it's quite soft. So I'm going to be able to taste the Chongju first. I'll do that. So it smells sweet. A bit nutty. Okay, the flavor is more tart, citrus tartness, but pretty good flavor. Yeah, a bit fruity. Not bad for Chongju. Now I'm going to mix this up. Yeah, since it's so fresh, it is easy to mix up with no sediment on the bottom. And this is called the Wanju. This is undiluted, so stronger than regular makgeolli. It doesn't seem too thick. Okay, similar aroma. Okay, but fairly tart, quite fruity. Yeah, maybe it's the mulberry. Since I don't think the brown rice fermented that much, it didn't break down that much. There's only a hint of nuttiness. I don't think I got much of the brown rice characteristics in this brew, but what remains, maybe there's some nutty aftertaste. At least I have that. It's a very fresh tasting, a bit tart, fruity. So it's something that's best fresh. I'm going to add some water to this, sort of 1-to-1, approximately. See if I can taste anything different. So now this is makgeolli strength. This is the diluted Wanju. That's makgeolli. Let's see if it tastes any different. So it does simplify the texture. This might be a better texture. Yeah, there's plenty of flavor. It can stand being diluted. It's probably best this way. Okay, so very tasty, nice and fresh. The goal here was to brew with what I had. Whatever scraps I have, should use it up. see what I can brew with it. It's not an experiment because I changed so many things. There's no way to, nothing was controlled. I just used everything I had, and just, you know, my instincts for brewing. Didn't ferment completely, but maybe I didn't allow it enough time. Well, I'll have to make some changes later, but this wasn't a real experiment because I changed so many things at once. This was just a totally different recipe, just using what I had, and it did produce a nice, fresh tasting brew. Just next time I'm going to have to use the brown rice differently, but what did ferment was worth it. It's a nice brew. So hope you found this interesting. Let me know what style of brewing you prefer. What do you do yourself? Thank you for watching.